Everything podcast, where our goal is to empower, educate, and elevate. For those of you that are new to the YouTube channel, new to the podcast, my name is Portia, and at All Black Everything Podcast, basically we talked about everything related to black people, black awards, black excellence, black issues in the community, black entertainment, black love, black relationships. We talk about everything black, okay? So let's get straight into it today. What I want to do is first start off with Mr. R. Kelly. Mr. R. Kelly. Anybody that is aware about what's going on with R. Kelly, he is currently going to trial for sex allegations and everything that relates to sex allegations. But what I thought was interesting, I heard this actually a couple of days ago on the news. They had a man testify. Now, what's interesting about this man is that initially he was charged with a unrelated crime, and basically his testimony gave him a plea deal, and so he had to testify against R. Kelly. So let's get straight to the bullshit, because that's not even the bullshit part. Let's get straight into the bullshit, okay? He basically speaks about how he met R. Kelly. When he was 17, R. Kelly approached him, asked him how bad he wanted a music career. He said that he was like, hey, I'll do anything. I'll carry bags. I'll do this. I'll do that. And he basically said, no, that's not the case. I'm not talking about that. And then asked him, had he ever fantasized about another man, right? And I guess to make a long story short, R. Kelly himself supposedly performed acts on this man when he was 17 years old, okay? He also speaks about a time where they were at some type of boxing ring and says that R. Kelly snapped his fingers and a girl under the boxing ring came out and just started, performing acts on them as well. Now, personally, before I get into my whole point of view on that, right, understand, I am never trying to, I don't want to be someone who's discrediting a victim, someone who's a victim, right? But all I can do is actually use my logic on the situation in general. Situation in general, do I think that R. Kelly has a problem or some type of issues? Personally, I do. But I believe everybody knew about it, and everybody, looked the other way for years. I mean, we can bring this back to accusations about, rest in peace, Aaliyah, But more than anything, the reason why I definitely believe he has a problem, I just want to make this point, is because even after the allegations that he wasn't convicted of and that he was found not guilty of child pornography, at that moment, anybody else would have used that opportunity as opportunity in time to stay away from, anybody underage, anybody close to underage. Like it would have been, just a done deal. The fact that we're still having this conversation, the fact that there's, still stories about it, obviously there is a problem. My issue with this man's testimony, though, is, first of all, the fact that you're only testifying to get a plea deal for another crime, number one. Number two, the story just seems very Lifetime movie network. Like it sounds really, really extra. So you're saying that he just snapped his fingers and a little girl peered from under the boxing ring. She was hiding under there and she just started performing acts on you and R. Kelly. But that was after after R. Kelly was performing Acts on You. It just sounds extra. Now, anybody that knows the whole R. Kelly story in itself, there has always been a conversation about his love for young ladies, younger girls, whatever you want to call it, right? There's always been a conversation about that. There's always been a conversation about that, just like it's always been conversation about accusations with priests liking little boys, right? So to take this scenario of R. Kelly and what we know about, obviously, there's a problem, and just throw this boy in the mix that was asked to testify to get a lesser plea deal so that they didn't charge him, or I don't know the dynamics of that. It sounds ridiculous. And let me tell you something. Being labeled a pedophile is the most disgusting, horrendous things anybody, just obviously for any sane person, they can agree. But now we're gonna just throw him messing with little boys. Let's throw that cherry on top. So I mean, with that being said, the story just sounds fictitious. It sounds extra. I do believe that R. Kelly is going to spend some time in jail. And honestly, I mean, if he does, he does at this point. Like that is what it is. But I mean, we're just coming up with all these random testimonies that doesn't even make any sense. I mean, now he has another type of fetish. So I don't know. Moving on. I want to send prayers out to Jesse Jackson, as well as his wife. It's interesting because, as you remember, on our last episode, we were speaking about the vaccines. We were speaking about COVID. And recently in the news, Jesse Jackson is hospitalized, and I believe his wife is hospitalized as well. And these two individuals got the vaccine back in January. Like we spoke about last week, there's people that are getting the vaccine. I don't have a right or wrong answer. So I want you to know, like, it's a no judgment zone. Anything that I speak about is really just based upon my concerns and the direction that anybody should take. So recently, the Pfizer vaccine, as of last week, a couple days before I actually posted the video, it was actually FDA approved, right? So now we have, this vaccine, FDA approved. I've been speaking to more people, and more people are willing to get it with it being FDA approved. There is a clip going around with this woman. Her name is Christina Parks. She has a PhD in cellular biology from the state of Michigan. So she was actually speaking on this clip about the vaccine. And what she was basically saying in regards to the vaccine is that the vaccine doesn't prevent, it from being contagious. Like, it doesn't prevent the spread of it. And she also said the vaccine does not cover the Delta variant. Take a look.
Dr. Christina Parks. I received my PhD in cellular and molecular biology right here in the state of Michigan from University of Michigan Medical School. And so I'm very well versed in the science of both these mRNA gene therapy vaccines, this kind of technology, as well as what a vaccine is designed to do in the body, what it can do, what it can't do, and the fact that this is extremely complex science that has been oversimplified in the media to basically take away our freedom of choice. What I want to address today in this limited time is the fact that vaccine requirements and mandates are based on the faulty assumption that the vaccines in question prevent transmission of the pathogen, right? Does the vaccine for DTaP prevent transmission? No. Does the vaccine for flu prevent transmission? No. Do the vaccines for COVID prevent transmission? No. In fact, they were never designed to do that. All right, so you're asking, what about this 95% effectiveness? If you look at those clinical trials, they do not say that they prevent transmission. They expressly say that they're measuring whether they attenuate symptoms. So they're 95% effective based on their clinical trials at attenuating symptoms for the first variant, which is essentially gone in our population. Right now, the predominant variant is the Delta, and CDC Director Walensky basically said that these vaccines have no ability to prevent infection by and transmission of the Delta variant. So, our policy needs not to be built on the hope of what we think something we want it to do, but what the data actually tell us. So do these viruses do the vaccines prevent the virus from infecting and replicating in the nose and nasopharynx? No. They've only been shown to prevent that replication in the lungs. They're different. The mucosa is very different than the lungs. It's very different than the blood. You inject it to the blood, you make antibodies in your blood. The virus isn't infecting your blood. It's infecting your mucosa, and you don't produce any IgA to neutralize it. In fact, recent studies have shown that the vaccinated, especially with the Delta variant, and the unvaccinated have similar amounts of virus in their nose and throat. In Barnstable, Massachusetts, the CDC tracked an outbreak of 469 cases of COVID. 74% occurred in fully vaccinated, and 4 out of 5 of those hospitalized were vaccinated. Utilizing this toxin saves lives, all right? I'm not going to debate that. But what it doesn't do is neutralize the bacteria. So what happens is fully vaccinated children go to daycare, they pick up that bacteria, and they come home and they give it to their newborn brother or sister. They get deathly ill, and they go to the hospital. Hopefully, our medical professionals are able to save them. But who do they blame? Now the CDC is blaming anti-vaxxers for the limitations of this vaccine design. I suggest that they be transparent and tell parents that although it is preventing severe disease in their children, it is not preventing transmission, because we have created a whole class of asymptomatic pertussis carriers who are increasing the disease. The vaccinologists know this, they're trying to address it, and so we cannot mandate that something that does not prevent transmission. Vaccines are made to a specific variant, and when that variant mutates, the vaccine no longer recognizes it. And so it's like you're seeing a completely new virus. And because that's so, you actually get more severe symptoms when you're vaccinated against one variant, and then it mutates, and then your body sees the other variant. We are seeing the same thing in COVID with the Delta variant. And so we are mandating that people get a vaccine that could actually make them more sick when they're exposed to the virus. In fact, this week, a paper came out, and what it showed is that with this Delta variant, when you're vaccinated, your body makes antibodies that are supposed to neutralize the virus. But they were supposed to neutralize the old variant. When they see this new variant, what they're doing is the antibodies are taking the virus and helping it infect the cells. All right, that science was just published this week.
So after listening to the clip, it makes me wonder about, what's going on with Jesse Jackson. At the end of the day, I don't know if we really know what's the right or wrong answer. I understand why people want to get the vaccine to get themselves protected. I definitely get that. But that brings us into a bigger topic within this whole COVID vaccine debacle, and that is the vaccine segregation. So in this second part of the clip, she speaks about the vaccine segregation. Take a listen.
As a PhD who knows the science, I'm in the category of the most vaccine hesitant group. Yes, PhDs are the most vaccine hesitant, followed by people who have less than a high school degree because they know what they don't know and they don't trust their government. And many people, the other group that is very vaccine hesitant, are African Americans. 70% of African Americans have not taken this vaccine. Why? Because they don't trust their government. Do they have reason not to trust their government? Well, between the years of 1930 and 1970, the CDC conducted the Tuskegee experiment, where they took untreated males with syphilis and they refused to treat them. Even after antibiotics became available, they still did not treat them, and they did not tell them that they had syphilis. They told those people that they were there to secure their health, and they did not secure their health. They abused them. You say, well, that was in the past, although I don't think 1970 was that long ago. Well, in 2012, whistleblower William Thompson came forward and said, we published a study that said MMR does not cause autism, but we lied. In fact, we shredded data that showed that when black boys are vaccinated on time, they have increased rates of autism diagnosis, and we shredded it and we left it out of the paper. As an African American and a PhD, I want to ask each of you, are we going to exclude 70% of African American people from the workforce and from education?
So listening to the clip, as you know, they're talking about, as she indicated, only 70% of black people in America are not vaccinated, right? And with them not being vaccinated, and all these different stores and restaurants and establishments are actually mandating, hey, you can't come in here unless you have a vaccine card. There is a lot of states that are requiring, and I believe New York is one of them. I believe we spoke about that before, but they are requiring a vaccine card. So now people are speaking about this new age segregation as it relates to the vaccine. Furthermore, though, in her point that she was speaking about, not only is that, and obviously that's the issue, but we're doing this over a vaccine that we don't even know is really going to work. Like, let's be honest, we are the guinea pigs. And I understand people making sacrifices and trusting in something to make sure that their family is okay. And I understand the other half of it where people are saying, hey, I want to wait things out and kind of see where things go. I understand both sides of it. But if science tells us, if what she says is correct, and science tells us, that this vaccine is not used for preventing the spread, but reducing symptoms, and it has no effect on the Delta variant, which is the very variant that have people right now starting to hoard toilet paper again. Why should we even put this stigma and say, hey, you can't come in? I know out here there are some establishments in Illinois where they're like, hey, you either need to be vaccinated or you need to show us proof of, a negative COVID test. I understand that. So it definitely, there's been a lot of talk, a lot of chatter about everything going on. Like I said, I don't think there's any right or wrong answer. But I would like to say this is definitely a different time. And honestly, it wouldn't even help the economy to put vaccine mandates on some. Oh, well, you can't work here if you don't have a vaccine. Oh, you can't work, here if you got a vaccine, or oh, you can't come into this store unless you got a vaccine. Because let me tell you, the economy is struggling. There is a labor shortage. I kid you not, in Illinois, and I don't know if it's like this for the rest of the world, but in Illinois, aside from inner city, in the suburbs, I have never seen so many homeless white folks. And this isn't to bash anybody, but I've just never seen it. Begging on the medians, by the mall, begging in front of Potbellies and Starbucks. Meanwhile, they got a weak hiring sign and they're begging in front of that sign, talking about they're hungry. I've never seen so much of it. It's crazy. I never thought that I would see homeless white folks refusing to work during the labor shortage. It's obviously there's an issue. Obviously there's an issue. I don't know what the issue is. I'm not even about to dive into that. But I'm trying to let y'all know. We living in different times. You could literally drive to the inner city and see white folks begging out there just as much as they begging out here, literally on the medians. And again, like, this ain't to, you know, talk bad down on anybody, but it just goes to show we're living in a different time if you have the audacity to beg in front of the Starbucks that says now hiring. But I mean, hey, so I mean, at the end of the day, we're living in a different time. We're living in a different time. And while all that chaos, like serious chaos is going on, from what's going on in Afghanistan, from the Hurricane Ida, from the forest fires on, you know, on the West Coast, this virus that we keep speaking about, with everything going on, a labor shortage, you know, the economy struggling. Do you know what gets the highlight? Do you know what gets the highlight of topic of conversation? Lil Nas X. And at the end of the day, literally all that is, like, to me, all that is a way for, you know, the media to deflect on unnecessary bullshit. You know, hey, if we have, if we're paying attention, if they're paying attention to what's going on with him, then, you know, we don't really got to speak about, we don't know what the hell is going on, you know, in the world as it relates to COVID. It's just another way to just deflect and demasculate. Moving on. So that brings us to our Black business shout out. Black business shout out. Black business shout out. Got that Black business shout out. That brings us to our Black business shout out. First Black business shout out was actually mentioned by the Shade Room, and it's called Black Luxury Hair Solution. It's a holistic hair care product. And it's a Black-owned company, obviously. And right now they have products for people who have alopecia, bad dandruff, eczema, and they have a hair growth oil, which is doing wonders, even for men who have, like, you know, kind of going bald at the top, kind of got that little George Jefferson thing going on. We still love y'all. We still love y'all, kings, but yeah, you definitely want to hit up Black Luxury Hair Solution. And all that information will be in the description link below. That moves us into a second Black business shout out. I actually had to give this Black business a shout out because they always take care of my sons. If you're from the Elgin, Illinois area, B's Touch of Style. We have Miss B doing hair. Her son, Bang, he hooks my boy's hair up, cuts my son's hair. We got Jimmy, he killing it, you know, as far as cutting hair and all of that. And there's some other barbers in there. So if you looking to get your hair cut, ladies, if you have sons and you want to know somewhere you can get your hair cut, definitely check them out. That information will be at the description link below as well. So with that being said, like I say all the time, go beyond the limit of the sky. Peace and blessings always.